Chapter 3781. That's right, that's right. I've long since found trash, like trash chow, to be an eyesore. This time, I've finally found an opportunity with great difficulty. So I must properly deal with him. Meng Tong's eyes lit up as he listened. Then, Boss Meng Tong, you're saying that you're going to let this little brother off this time and directly trample that idiot Trash Chow to death in the next round. Cha Wu couldn't help but ask, with a face full of hope. Meng Tong was stunned when he heard that. Then, he had a strange look on his face. He sneered at him and said, "When did I say that? Did I say I'm going to let you go? Weakling, don't lie to yourself." Huh. Cha Wu was stunned. After a while, he quickly smiled and said, "Boss Meng Tong, my heart isn't good. I can't take fright. Please don't joke with me." "Who's joking with you? Do you think I'm so free to joke with a weakling like you and waste my time?" Meng Tong sneered incessantly. He didn't have the slightest trace of the complacent expression he had a moment ago after being flattered. After hearing that, Cha Wu was so angry that his mouth became crooked. He had a stomach full of vulgarities, but he didn't dare to curse out loud. F***ck. I've wasted so much saliva to persuade you. If you don't agree, then why the F***ck? Did you nod at me? Do you have to be so shameless? How the F***ck? Do you want to be the new boss with this kind of attitude? Meng Tong was a simple-minded guy. In Cha Wu's eyes, he should be easy to fool. He had said it well before. He didn't expect him to suddenly go back on his words. This was really unexpected. Little did he know that Meng Tong was easy to fool. However, he had been warned by Meng Jueguang before that practical benefits were more important than anything else. Even if he really believed Cha Wu and wanted to let him go, Meng Tong didn't have the guts to go against Meng Jueguang's orders. One had to know. Meng Jueguang was not only his ninth cousin, but also his only support. As long as Meng Jueguang said something, what could Cha Wu, a weakling who wasn't liked by others, say anything? Should he listen to Meng Jueguang or listen to the weak Cha Wu? This question was not a multiple-choice question for Meng Tong. After hearing Meng Tong's sneer, Cha Wu couldn't help but shiver as if he had fallen into an ice house. Before this, he didn't think that Meng Tong would be such a cold-blooded and overbearing person. He had coaxed and pestered Meng Tong for so long, but he still couldn't move this guy. His painstaking efforts were all in vain. Weakling, listen carefully. Prepare to surrender in the next round. Of course, if you're unwilling, I don't mind showing off my skills. I don't mind showing off my strength, but I won't care whether you live or die when the time comes. You understand what I mean? Meng Tong's smile became more and more ferocious as he spoke. Originally, he planned to use Xiao Ran in the first round. He didn't expect Xiao Ran to be so slippery. Once he saw that the situation wasn't good, he took the initiative to admit defeat. So, Meng Tong had a stomach full of energy. If Cha Wu didn't have eyes and took the initiative to go up, the result could be imagined. Yes, I understand. I'll take my leave. Cha Wu was cursing in his heart. He was greeting Meng Tong's family of 18 generations of females, but he still had to maintain a forced smile on his face. However, this smile looked bitter no matter how you looked at it. It was almost the same as a bitter senior. At this point, it was meaningless to say anything more. No matter how miserable Cha Wu was, he could only pinch his nose and retreat. In this way, Meng Tong had already named to take 3 points from him, and then Xiao Ran, who was in the 15th cave at the foot of the mountain, would immediately take 2 points from him. For Cha Wu, who only had the starting point points left and was destined to lose a lot of points in the spirit medicine trial round, it was almost inevitable that he would accumulate negative points in the first 4 assessment rounds. His future was miserable and bleak. 3 days later, The second round of the newcomer challenge began as scheduled. Because of the 7 matches in the first round, the situation of all the Blue Cloud Pavilion newcomers had gradually become clear. Everyone knew what they should and shouldn't do, so they didn't fall into a stalemate like last time. They didn't confront each other and directly started fighting. At the foot of the mountain, in the 15th abode of Immortal's Cave, Xiao Ran was currently busy concentrating on building his foundation. With his calm and reserved personality, he would definitely not take the initiative to challenge others before he successfully built his foundation. He was not the kind of idiot who would destroy his own Great Wall. Indeed, Meng Tong was the first to go up the stage in Abode 14 at the foot of the mountain. Furthermore, he challenged Cha Wu in Abode 13 by name. Although this action was reasonable, it was somewhat unexpected to the other rookies. After all, Meng Tong did not seem like a calm and rational person. For the sake of a trifling 3 points, Meng Tong had directly thrown his vow to declare war against Xiao Hongkai to the back of his mind. This kind of act of going back on one's word and disregarding his face like floating clouds was really not something a simple-minded guy like Meng Tong could do. However, no matter what the others thought, Meng Tong did it. Furthermore, it seemed like he didn't care about the discussions of the crowd. Facing such a powerful and overbearing early-stage foundation establishment expert, a weakling like Cha Wu had no way of resisting. Ignoring the fact that his strength wasn't enough, in fact, even if he had the strength to fight with his current state of being heavily injured, it was impossible for him to take the initiative. He could only take the initiative to give up. Cha Wu directly admitted defeat, and Meng Tong easily obtained 3 points. Furthermore, he was promoted to the number 13 Immortal's Cave at the foot of the mountain. This result was logical, and no one was surprised at all. Although Meng Tong had gone back on his word, it was a common occurrence in the cultivation world that was full of deceit. Therefore, it did not cause much discussion. However, in comparison, Cha Wu, who was the weaker party and was in a miserable situation, had become the target of ridicule from the rookies. Serves him right. This brat thought he could take advantage of the opportunity. He really overestimated himself. He clearly knows that his strength is weak to this extent, yet he still dared to do this. He took the initiative to challenge Lin Yi. Only this weakling could think of this. That's right. He doesn't even know what he's made of. He has quite the guts, but unfortunately, he has the guts in the wrong place. That's right. Who doesn't know how to speculate? But even if it's speculating, it still depends on whether or not he has the strength to do it. This weakling overestimates himself. If he doesn't have a few tricks up his sleeve, he won't be able to go to Liangshan. Everyone is cheap. With his measly strength, he actually dared to take advantage of Senior Brother Meng and Senior Brother Lin Yi's loopholes. This kind of idiot who doesn't know the difference between life and death. In my opinion, this bastard won't be able to escape the fate of losing points. He can forget about entering Clear Cloud Pavilion ever again. For a Heaven Stage Great Circle expert to go into battle with an injured Foundation establishment expert, and one who had a grudge with the other party, what kind of ending that would be, even if one used their toes to think about it. The bitter Senior Brother secretly gave Lin Yi a look, indicating for Lin Yi to persuade him. Although he was the Senior Brother in charge, and Lin Yi and the other two were nominally under his protection, everyone knew what was going on in reality. At the end of the day, Lin Yi was the core of their group. Once he spoke, not only would Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai listen to him, even Senior Brother Ku Bai would automatically follow his arrangements. This was something that Senior Brother Ku Qian had already understood a long time ago. Although Xiao Hongkai's character was more stubborn once he made up his mind, he would not turn back until he hit the wall. Even if he hit the wall, he would not turn back until he hit the wall. However, this also depended on the person. It was useless for senior brother Ku Bai and the others to persuade him. But if it was Lin Yi, it might not necessarily be useless. Lin Yi's position in Qiao Hongsai's heart was absolutely high. One sentence from him was at least worth 100 sentences from others. However, Lin Yi smiled and said, "Then you work hard and strive to break through to the foundation establishment stage before you face Meng Tong. I'm waiting to see your performance." "Okay, boss, just wait and see. I'm going into seclusion now." Qiao Hongkai waved his fist excitedly, turned around, and went into his cave house number 12 at the foot of the mountain. Chapter 3783. Once Qiao Hongkai failed to break through to the foundation establishment stage, Meng Jueguang and Meng Tong would definitely not let him go. They would take the opportunity to kill him in the arena easily, forcing senior brother Ku and Lin Yi to be unable to intervene. It's okay. Don't be fooled by Hongsai's reckless appearance. I can guarantee that he must have thought through these things more thoroughly than us. Since he has already made up his mind to break through, we have no reason to hold him back. Just let him do it. Lin Yi patted senior brother Ku's shoulder and comforted him. In his opinion, if Qiao Hongkai failed to break through to the foundation establishment stage, he would probably admit defeat like Xiao Ran based on his rough performance in the last round. It was unlikely that he would foolishly risk his life to show off. Even if Qiao Hongkai really fought with Meng Tong, Lin Yi was confident that he could save him as long as he could hold on to his last breath. Therefore, to a certain extent, Lin Yi had the ability to save the situation, so there was no need to worry too much. At this time, Xiao Ran suddenly said thoughtfully, "Boss Lin Yi, senior brother Ku, you don't have to worry too much about him. I have a feeling that Hongkai is very likely to surpass me." After a few days of full adjustment, Xiao Ran felt that he had almost 80% confidence in breaking through to the foundation establishment stage. He planned to make preparations in the next 2 days. However, no matter how well prepared he was, the process of breaking through to the foundation establishment stage differed from person to person. People like Qiao Hongkai, who were full of vigor, might be able to achieve results in a moment. But if it was him, Xiao Ran, the process would inevitably be like boiling porridge over a slow fire. Regardless of success or failure, it would probably be a stalemate for a period of time. Ha! This is good. Hongkai is just suitable to be the vanguard. It's not bad to let him fight with Meng Tong first. Then, Xiao Ran, you can make a backup move. Both sides have double insurance. That would be complete. Don't be idle here. Hurry up and go into closed seclusion, and wait for good news. Lin Yi said with a smile. Okay. Xiao Ran nodded and bid farewell to senior brother Ku Bai, then turned around and walked into the number 15 abode of Immortal's Cave at the foot of the mountain. After watching Xiao Ran leave, the bitter senior brother turned to look at Lin Yi and said with emotion, "Junior brother Lin, I won't hide it from you. Before today, I always thought that you were the dragon among us, but now I suddenly have a feeling. Our junior brother Xiao and junior brother Qiao are not ordinary people either. If they follow junior brother Lin, they will definitely soar into the sky in the future. On the other hand, as a senior brother, I don't have much talent or ability. This is all I can do for the rest of my life." "Senior brother Ku, you're belittling yourself." Lin Yi put an arm around Ku Bai's shoulder. "I'll take this opportunity to give you a piece of advice as a disciple. We practitioners need to have confidence. If you don't even believe in yourself, then you'll have to face the consequences. If you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect to break through? By the way, senior brother Ku, how are the effects of the 2 foundation breaking pills you gave me last time?" Senior brother Ku Bai smiled awkwardly and said, "I'm afraid that I'll waste your efforts, so I'm still making preparations. I haven't taken them yet." "No wonder." Lin Yi held his forehead speechlessly. No wonder he hadn't seen any movement from senior brother Ku Bai until now. He thought that he had failed to break through the barrier. It turned out that he was just as cautious as Xiao Ran. He didn't dare to take it easily. To be honest, with senior brother Ku Bai's strength and foundation over the years, plus the foundation breaking pills that Lin Yi gave him, he would be able to break through to the peak of the early stage of the foundation building realm. Once he broke through to the peak of the early stage of the foundation building realm, there was almost a 100% chance of success. There was no need to worry too much. Senior brother Ku, I have to say something to you. You are our leader, and we're counting on you to shelter us from the wind and rain. Besides, since I can refine foundation-breaking pills, you don't have to be so thrifty, senior brother Ku. Use them first, and I'll refine more if there's not enough. Lin Yi advised. When Lin Yi said that, senior brother Ku Bai couldn't help but blush. He nodded repeatedly and said, Junior brother Lin, you're right. I'm used to being poor, and I'm afraid of wasting good things. That's why I don't dare to touch them. I've forgotten that you're our alchemist. If it's not enough, I won't stand on ceremony. This guy was really afraid of being poor. He was guarding the good things, but didn't dare to use them. Lin Yi shook his head speechlessly, and then said, Of course, no problem. Oh, right, senior brother Ku. Recently there's a rumor that Su Lingchong is preparing to protect Meng Jueguang to take over the position of third pavilion master. Have you heard about it? There's such a thing? Senior brother Ku Bai was shocked. In fact, Lin Yi knew about this news from Li Zhengming's intelligence. It was still in the brewing stage of top secret. It was normal that senior brother Ku Bai didn't get wind of it. If this matter really becomes a foregone conclusion, it won't be good, senior brother Ku Bai said with a face full of lingering fear. Although what Lin Yi said was still groundless, if he thought about it carefully, if Su Lingchong really wanted to push Meng Jueguang to take over the position, the possibility of success was really not small. Chapter 3784. Looking at the back of his bitter senior brother, Lin Yi nodded to himself. If everything went well, the strength of the three people by his side should be able to increase by another level. If these people became stronger, it meant that his own power would become stronger. At that time, his words would naturally have more weight. If Meng Jueguang and the others wanted to do anything, they would have to think twice before doing anything. This way, at least, he could avoid a lot of unnecessary trouble. Of course, for Lin Yi, the most important thing was his own strength. However, because he had just reached the peak of the early stage of the foundation establishment realm, it was not realistic to break through in a short period of time. He had to consolidate his strength for a period of time first. Other than that, Lin Yi's top priority was to take care of the 2 heart-devouring exquisite grass seeds. As long as these 2 seeds grew, he would not have to worry about getting the foundation establishment pill. Otherwise, he would have to start having a headache searching for the heart-devouring exquisite grass. It had been a whole 8 days since the day he received the spiritual medicine seeds. Even with a cheating artifact like the space in the jade pendant, in addition to Lin Yi's daily supply of vital energy, the 2 heart-devouring exquisite grass seeds did not show any signs of germination. According to the sissy manager of the spirit medicine nursery, if everything went smoothly, he would usually see results in 15 to 20 days. Now that half of the time had passed, according to the growth pattern of ordinary plants, they should have started to germinate by now. Now that these seeds were acting recklessly, it made Lin Yi a little anxious. Fortunately, not only did the 2 heart-devouring exquisite grass seeds not move, the other 78 spiritual medicine seeds in the space in the jade pendant were the same. This made Lin Yi slightly relieved. Although it was still reckless, at least there was a comparison. He could rule out the possibility of the two heart-devouring exquisite grass seeds dying alone, and that was enough. And if the space in the jade pendant was blessed by the heavens, the possibility of all 80 spiritual medicine seeds dying was ridiculous. Lin Yi did not believe it, even if he was beaten to death. If he could not cultivate the spiritual medicine with his current condition, then it would be better for the other newcomers to just give up. No matter how much effort they put in, it would all be in vain. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. The third round of the newcomer challenge began as scheduled. This round was different from the previous 2 rounds. Although there were many matches between rookies in the previous 2 rounds, there wasn't much to see. Originally, the first round between Meng Tong and Xiao Ran was supposed to be an intense battle. However, in the end, Xiao Ran admitted defeat. As for the second round that followed, there was nothing to write home about. Among the top 5 rookies of Blue Cloud Pavilion, other than Meng Tong, who effortlessly took 3 points from Cha Wu, the other top 4 did not make any moves. All of them were just bystanders, and there was nothing to see. However, in the third round, Lin Yi, Li Zhengming, and Xiao Ran might not make any moves, but there was no doubt that Meng Tong, who was currently ranked second in terms of points, would not make any moves. It was inevitable that he would be fighting against Xiao Hongkai, who was ranked 4th, although their cave-dwelling rankings were very low, and the stakes were not that high regardless of who won or lost. If it was placed among the other rookies, it wouldn't be anything to see. However, don't forget that these 2 were natural enemies. Both sides had already said that they were not on good terms with each other, but the battle had yet to begin. It was already destined that once the 2 of them faced each other, it would be a battle full of gunpowder. One could even foresee a bloody battle between dragons and tigers. Of course, with Meng Tong's strength in the early stage of foundation establishment against Xiao Hongkai, who was only at heaven stage great perfection, it would be overestimating the latter to say that this battle would be a battle between dragons and tigers. However, there was no doubt that in this battle, Meng Tong would definitely make a move on Xiao Hongkai. The only suspense was whether Xiao Hongkai had the luck and strength to survive under Meng Tong's feet. The third round of the Blue Cloud Pavilion Rookie Challenge officially began. The other rookies tactfully remained silent. They had no intention of stealing the show and quietly waited for the 2 protagonists to come on stage. Meng Tong smiled proudly. He was very satisfied with the respectful performance of the rookies. He immediately strode onto the stage and pointed at Xiao Hongkai. His eyes were filled with killing intent. "Today is the day you die. What's the matter, lumber waist? Do you want me to invite you up here? I say, don't tell me you want to be like that Xiao guy. A coward at the last moment?" Meng Gao stood arrogantly on the stage, unbridledly ridiculing. "Then I'm really disappointed. I thought that even though you're a bit useless, you're still a man. I didn't expect to find out that you're actually a woman. That Xiao guy is like this, and you, lumberwaist, are like this. No wonder people say that Lin Yi is a lecherous ghost. Don't tell me he likes you guys? Holy sh*T. That's really hardcore." The rookies in the audience immediately roared with laughter. Meng Tong's mockery was too much of a joke. Unbeknownst to them, this was an excuse that Meng Jueguang had specially given to him. It was to infuriate Xiao Hongkai and make him lose his rationality. If not, this rascal would be like Xiao Ran and become a coward. Then it would be meaningless. Although Xiao Hongkai had a straightforward and hot-blooded personality, his actions of challenging Cha Wu was already a cunning attempt to avoid clashing with Meng Tong in the second round. He had to guard against him this time. This was a rare opportunity. Seeing how Lin Yi and company were becoming more and more arrogant by the day, he had to make an example of them and teach them a lesson in blood. Given Xiao Hongcai's usual personality, he would have gone up to him without a second word to be mocked in front of everyone. However, today his expression was surprisingly calm as usual. Holy sh**t. This was really the case of one who keeps company with ink being stained black. After spending so much time with Lin E, even a piece of trash like lumber waste had learned how to be a poser. Meng Tong and the other rookies were secretly surprised. Following that, they saw Chow Honkai greet Lin E and company before calmly walking up the stage. In a trance, Meng Tong suddenly felt that the lumber waste in front of him was somewhat different from a few days ago. Although he was still the same person, the feeling he gave was like he had been reborn. It was as though he had completely transformed. However, he could not tell what exactly was different. F***CK. What's there to care about a mere lumber waste? Meng Tong hurriedly threw this strange thought to the back of his head. What he needed to do next was to beat this lumber waste into a dead person. When that happened, he wanted to see if Lin E and company could continue acting. After walking up the stage, Chow Honkai looked at Meng Tong from head to toe and suddenly said, "Rookie Meng, don't tell me you didn't brush your teeth today." One had to know that when the 1,000 kicks reached the 21st form, not only did the actual leg possess unparalleled lethality, but even the illusions that seemed to only have a confusing effect were equally lethal. Although it couldn't compare to the most fatal kick, it was still a peak heaven rank powerhouse. If she was hit by these illusions, she would also be seriously injured. If her defense was slightly weaker, she might even die. Is Lumber Waist scared out of his wits? Why isn't he moving? The rookies looked at each other in dismay. Even a cultivator with poor eyesight would be able to tell that this place was dangerous. Chow Hongsai's motionless posture was no different from waiting for death. If he reacted quickly and dodged immediately, even if he couldn't completely avoid Meng Tong's 1,000 legs, he would at least be able to avoid as many injuries as possible. But at the very least, he would be able to suffer less injuries. In this way, if he could survive the first wave of attacks, he would have a chance to catch his breath. There would always be a chance to say, "I admit defeat." Although serious injuries were unavoidable, if he worked hard, he would still be able to fight for a chance of survival. However, with Chow Hongsai's foolish behavior, there was no way he could survive. Once Meng Tong's 1,000 kicks, 21 forms was over, he would definitely die. If he could leave his corpse intact, it would be a blessing from his ancestors. Now we can prepare to collect this lumber waste corpse. I'll teach you guys a lesson. What happens when you go against me, Meng Jueguang? Meng Jueguang sneered as he looked at Lin E and the rest. Ever since Lin E came to the Welcome Pavilion, he had repeatedly challenged him, the big senior brother in charge. However, what surprised him was that he had never suffered any substantial losses. Other than the occasional exchange of a few good pieces of jade, Lin E was able to create miracles and take advantage of others. Meng Jueguang had almost lost all his face. But now, once Meng Tong killed Chow Honkai, Lin Yi's underling, on the spot, everything would be fine. At the end of the day, no matter how awesome Lin Yi was, he was just a rookie. In terms of strength and influence, he was not on the same level as Meng Jueguang. The reason why he was able to create a momentum of being on par with him was purely due to his miraculous performance of being undefeated. It was like blowing a bubble, constantly attracting attention. Step by step, he reached the position of the rookie overlord of Blue Cloud Pavilion. However, once this undefeated momentum was stopped, the bubble would instantly burst. Then Lin E, the rookie overlord of Blue Cloud Pavilion, would immediately be beaten back to his original state. At that time, the other rookies would realize that other than being a rookie like them, other than being slightly stronger, he was not even worth a fart. Chapter 3786. Not to mention the mood of the audience. Qiao Hongkai, who was on the stage, was not in a hurry. Facing Meng Tong's 1,000 heavy-leg shadows, he operated his true qi and struck out with his palm. His main martial skill was as straightforward as his personality. It looked ordinary, but it was actually very powerful. It was one of the best martial skills in the cultivation world. It was known as the cold iron palm. Qiao Hongkai was an ice attribute cultivator, and this cold iron palm was also one of the ice attribute cultivator's martial skills. Seeing Qiao Hongkai's posture, Meng Tong suddenly laughed. Cold iron palm? You dare to use such a useless martial skill? You want to deal with my 1,000 layers of leg shadows? Lumber waist, you are seeking your own death. Don't blame me for hitting you when you are down. After saying that, the 1,000 layers of leg shadows that surrounded Qiao Hongkai suddenly tightened, not to mention the fact that it was difficult to distinguish the real from the fake. Even if he had guessed correctly and avoided the most fatal kick, the rest of the leg shadows would still be enough to kill a heaven stage full-cycle expert. Among all the common martial skills, the cold iron palm's lethality was top-notch, but that was it. Apart from lethality, the other aspects of the cold iron palm could not even be considered as passable. It was especially straightforward and lacked variation. If it could not even hit its target, then what was the use of the martial skill, no matter how strong it was? Therefore, the cold iron palm had always been recognized as a useless martial art. Even among the common martial arts, it was considered to be at the bottom of the list. Even the most ordinary martial arts did not have much of a background and resources. Even the weakest martial artists would not be interested in this kind of useless martial art, except for those who had holes in their brains. In comparison, the 1,000 layers of leg shadows that Meng Tong practiced was much better. Whether it was in terms of attack, defense, or speed, it was a rare and excellent choice. There was a world of difference between the two. To put it simply, if the 1,000 kicks and cold iron palms were placed together and 10,000 practitioners were chosen, they would not be able to perform the 1,000 kicks and cold iron palm. At least 9,990 people would choose 1,000 kicks without any hesitation. As for the remaining 10 people, 9 of them would still choose 1,000 kicks after some hesitation. Only the last person would have the chance to consider cold iron palm, but in the end, he would still choose to give up. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that 1,000 kicks wouldn't have an absolute advantage against cold iron palm if they were at the same level, but 1,000 kicks would definitely be able to take the initiative. Under normal circumstances, a cold iron palm expert would only have a powerful lethality. However, he could not even touch the edge of a 1,000-legged expert. He could only be toyed with by his opponent. This was the advantage brought about by martial techniques. Even experts of the same level had such a huge disadvantage, not to mention that one of them was at the peak of heaven stage, while the other was at the early stage of foundation establishment. In the eyes of anyone with common sense, there was no suspense at all in this kind of battle. Lumber Waist was definitely dead this time. This was the thought that popped up in the minds of almost all the Blue Cloud Pavilion rookies below the stage. Of course, except for Lin, Yi, and the others. In the blink of an eye, Qiao Hongkai's simple cold iron palm had already met Meng Tong's 1,000-legged afterimages. There was a huge tremor from the backstage, and a huge golden palm print actually broke through the 1,000-legged afterimages. Bang! A figure flew out in a sorry state. When they saw the person's face clearly, all the rookies below the stage, including Meng Jueguang, were instantly dumbfounded. The figure that was sent flying out in a sorry state. It was actually Meng Tong. F***CK. How could it be Meng Tong? Did they see wrongly? Meng Jueguang and the others unconsciously rubbed their eyes, then looked at the person on the stage who was in a sorry state, but it was still Meng Tong. Only then did they react in disbelief. Just now, Lumber Waist, who was obviously going to die, actually broke through Meng Tong's thousand-legged 21 styles with one palm and even backhanded Meng Tong, an early-stage foundation establishment expert, into such a sorry state. It was really shocking. After this shocking face-to-face, Meng Jueguang and the others below the stage were stunned for a long time. Only Lin Yi and the others had expected this scene. Lin Yi realized that his golden finger was still there. Although he couldn't clearly see cultivators who were stronger than him without using the mantra, he could still clearly see the level of cultivators who were weaker or at the same level as him. It was true that a heaven-stage great perfection cold iron palm expert would not have any chance of winning against a foundation establishment realm expert with 1,000 legs. However, what if this cold iron palm expert was also in the foundation establishment realm and had a trick up his sleeve? Everyone else, including Meng Jueguang, had assumed that Trash Chow was still a heaven-stage great circle cultivator that wasn't even worth mentioning. They had never thought that this guy would actually rush to break through to foundation establishment before this round of challenges, and even succeed in breaking through. When they understood this, Meng Jueguang and the others couldn't help but gasp. He knew that in the next round, he would have to face Meng Tong, an early-stage foundation establishment expert, in a short 3 days, but he still dared to rush to the foundation establishment stage in such a short period of time. This Lumber Waist was a F***king lunatic. The audience was still in shock, but at this moment, Meng Tong, who was on the stage, was really shocked. It could even be said that he was horrified. Originally, Meng Tong had thought that he would be able to easily kill a piece of trash that he could step on easily. But in the end, not only was Meng Tong completely unscathed, he had even shattered a mouthful of teeth. This kind of inexplicable result really scared Meng Tong silly. Didn't this trash say that he was a heaven-stage full-circle cultivator? How did he suddenly become an early-stage foundation establishment expert? F***CK. This is not scientific at all. Don't forget, Meng Tong, was able to successfully build his foundation not only because he used a foundation establishment pill, but also because he went through Su Lingchong's channel to get a foundation establishment liquid that could only be encountered by luck. Using it together with the foundation establishment pill greatly increased the success rate, which was why he was lucky enough to succeed. But what did a mere lumber waist have? Not to mention foundation establishment liquid, he couldn't even get a foundation establishment pill. How could this kind of trash succeed in building his foundation? This kind of thing couldn't be understood at all. In a short 3 days, a mere heaven-stage, full-circle cultivator was turned into an early-stage foundation establishment expert by this trash. This kind of thing was really F***king absurd. Unfortunately, whether or not he could understand it, Meng Tong could at least confirm one thing. His pair of dog eyes had been blinded by lumber waist. While Meng Tong was still in a state of shock, Chow Honkai suddenly sneered. "What's wrong, newbie Meng? A dignified, early-stage foundation establishment expert wouldn't be scared by my useless cold iron palm, right? From the looks of it, the so-called 1,000 legs 21 styles is only SOSO. Chapter 3787. Therefore, even though Meng Tong used all his strength to execute the 1,000 kicks 21 forms in an attempt to kill Chow Honkai in one move, he was not able to display the true mirage of the 1,000 kicks. Instead, he immediately withdrew his 1,000 kicks, giving Chow Honkai the opportunity to face him head-on. In terms of direct attacks, there was nothing that could compete with the cold iron palm, and the 1,000 kicks was no exception. The cold iron palm was mediocre in every other aspect, but its frontal lethality was top-notch. However, Meng Tong didn't do anything and directly confronted his opponent head-on. It would be unreasonable if he wasn't beaten up. In the end, it was not that the 1,000 kicks lost to the cold iron palm. In this exchange, Meng Tong suffered a loss because he underestimated his opponent. He thought that killing Qiao Honkai would be easy and enjoyable. He would save some of his true qi, so he could go back and cultivate the spiritual medicine seeds. Just SOL. Meng Tong finally reacted and sneered. Lumberwaist, don't think that just because I was careless and let you take advantage of me, you can really ride on my head and shit on me. Let me tell you, you're trash. Don't even think about turning over a new leaf. So what if you're in the early stage of the foundation establishment stage? You think I can't kill you? You're too naive. After saying that, Meng Tong jumped up again and used his body movement to the extreme, charging straight at Qiao Honkai. In that unexpected exchange, although Meng Tong was caught off guard and was slightly injured, he still used the 1,000 Kicks 21 forms to fight against Qiao Hongsai's cold iron palm. Even if it was not as strong, it was enough to offset most of the cold iron palm's power. Therefore, at this moment, his injuries were not serious, and he still had the strength to fight. Humph, then show me how you kill me. Qiao Honkai replied with a sneer, seeing that Meng Tong was so angry that he began to risk his life. Qiao Honkai once again created layers of leg shadows to cover himself, but his response at this moment once again made everyone's jaws drop. Qi sank to the dantian. No matter how many leg shadows Meng Tong created in all directions, Qiao Honkai didn't care about them in the slightest. It gave people the impression that Qiao Honkai didn't care about Meng Tong's 1,000 Kicks at all. The only thing he needed to do was to find an opportunity to use the 21st style of the cold iron palm, clumsy and unable to adapt. Moreover, the cold iron palm's most fatal flaw was its slow execution speed. If it was in another situation, it would be fine. However, in a one-on-one match, the cold iron palm was definitely at a disadvantage. Qiao Hongsai's response might seem stupid, but he had no other choice. If he really followed Meng Tong's footsteps, he would definitely die. He reckoned that he would make himself dizzy from all the spinning. This was simply crippling his own martial arts. In the end, it was extremely likely that he wouldn't even be able to use the cold iron palm. But right now, he was defending his own territory and waiting for Meng Tong to come to him. Although this strategy seemed to be a helpless one, it was a passive one. But it might not be useless. Ha ha, you dare to fight me with this stupid look? Do you know how pigs die, lumberwaist? Meng Tong used his 1,000 Kicks to confuse his opponent, causing him to be at a loss for what to do. How pigs die? I don't know, but let's see how you die. Then we'll know. Qiao Honkai replied calmly. Humph, stubborn. Meng Tong snorted coldly. With a thought, a few indistinguishable leg shadows swept towards Qiao Honkai. However, Qiao Honkai didn't move. He forcefully endured the attacks of these phantoms, but he still maintained the same posture, ready to attack. Although the 21st form of the 1,000 legs did not cause light damage, for a foundational level expert like Qiao Honkai, it wasn't to the point where it would hurt his muscles and bones. Meng Tong couldn't help but be stunned. When the 1,000 legs reached the 21st form of the 1,000 legs, even the 1,000 leg shadows had a lot of power. Therefore, it was difficult to tell which leg shadows were real and which were fake. Other than himself, his opponent had no way of determining which leg shadows were real and which were fake. There were only two ways to deal with the 1,000 legs. One was to use a more powerful martial arts technique to destroy all the leg shadows, and the other was to guess. There was no other way. However, looking at Qiao Hongsai's unshakable posture, Meng Tong couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. Could it be that this guy had a way to distinguish which leg shadows were real and which were fake? Otherwise, if he didn't determine that the leg shadows were fake, how could he be so unscrupulous and ignore them? One had to know that the 21st form of the 1,000 legs was performed by a foundational level expert. Even if the thousand legs was slightly weaker than the cold iron palm, the difference was still limited. If one was hit by a real leg, even if one didn't die, they would be seriously injured. This was not a joke. No matter how many times Meng Tong tried to test the waters, Qiao Hongkai didn't move at all. Even after Meng Tong threw a few more kicks at him, he didn't move at all. He gave off the feeling that he was an old monk in meditation, completely isolated from the outside world. Meng Tong couldn't help but be suspicious. He tested the waters a dozen times, and even used his real leg to sweep past the back of Qiao Hongkai's head a few times. But Qiao Hongkai still didn't move. Only then did Meng Tong's heart calm down. It turned out that this trash Qiao was just putting on an act. He was just imitating their pretentious leader to act pretentious. In fact, he simply couldn't tell whether his leg shadows were real or fake. To think that he actually thought that this guy had some sort of superior move to deal with his 1,000 kicks. But thinking about it carefully, the 1,000 kicks was recognized by the entire cultivation world as a top-notch martial skill. At least among the common martial skills, it was absolutely first-rate. Whether it was in terms of offense, defense, or confusion, once it was fully used, it would be an invincible existence. How could Xiao Hong, who was just an idiot, handle it with his cold iron palm? F***CK. I was just being careless. After being tricked by this trash, I thought too much. After understanding this point, Meng Tong once again laughed wildly. In the end, a trash will always be a trash. Even if he was lucky enough to reach the foundation building stage, he still couldn't escape the fate of being stepped on by me. Because the 1,000 legs shadow had once again surrounded Qiao Hongkai, Qiao Hongkai had fallen into an absolute passive position. As long as Qiao Hongkai didn't make a move, he could only foolishly stand there, not daring to make any other moves. Because once he moved, even if it was just a feint, he would inevitably reveal a flaw. After all, the cold iron palm couldn't be like the 1,000 legs shadow, which could perfectly combine fake and real. With its clumsy movements, it was impossible to deceive an expert of the same level. Chapter 3788. Bam, bam, bam. In the blink of an eye, another 3-leg shadows swept towards Qiao Hongkai from 3 completely different directions. Qiao Hongkai once again took it all, in like before. With a muffled grunt, she endured it without moving an inch. This piece of trash was really a piece of trash that could only wait for death. It was only at this moment that Meng Tong finally let down his guard. Once bitten, twice shy. Although Meng Tong said that he did not take Qiao Hongkai seriously, to be honest, even with Meng Tong's arrogance, he could not help but feel a lingering fear after the previous encounter. Even though he knew that he had the upper hand, he did not dare to be as arrogant as before. In fact, he had been very careful until now. However, after so many tests, Meng Tong could already be sure that even if this lumber waste succeeded in building his foundation, he was just a piece of trash in the early stage of foundation building. Apart from being tricked just now, the rest of the time, lumber waste had no power to resist him at all. He could totally step on him, without worry. Go to hell. After preparing for a long time, Meng Tong's most fatal killing move finally arrived. Although the 1,000 kicks 21 forms could create 1,000 leg shadows, in the end, only the last leg was the most powerful killing move. Bam! A muffled sound of bodies colliding with each other was heard. The 1,000 leg shadows dissipated instantly. The audience could clearly see that Meng Tong's leg had already landed on Qiao Hongkai's chest. There was no resistance, no defense. In such a situation, normal people would know that the chest was the most heavily guarded and the most difficult part to attack. If others were in Meng Tong's position, they would definitely kick at the back of the heart or even the back of the head. However, Meng Tong did the opposite. It actually had a miraculous effect. Chow Honkai paused for a moment, then suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. It was a shocking sight. Even if his boss, Lin Yi, is a poser, he wouldn't be able to take Meng Tong's Thousand Legs 21 Styles head-on, not to mention that he's just a lackey who's just built his foundation. He's really reckless. Meng Jueguang couldn't help but feel happy when he saw this scene. The shock he felt when he found out that Chow Honkai was in the early stage of foundation establishment disappeared instantly, and he felt relaxed. The scene of lumber waste spewing blood was a little horrifying. However, in Meng Jueguang's eyes, it was pleasing to the eye no matter how he looked at it. Not to mention spitting out a mouthful of blood. He wanted this lumber waste to spit out a whole vat of blood for 10 miles. Not only Meng Jueguang. Anyone with discerning eyes could see that in this face-to-face encounter, Meng Tong definitely had the upper hand. Chow Honkai, who had just built his foundation, was in the early stage of foundation establishment. Chapter 3789. In order to hit Meng Tong with his final palm strike, he had suffered the injuries of so many afterimages of Meng Tong's 1,000 kicks. This fellow had not uttered a single word, and had even directly taken the full damage of Meng Tong's 1,000 kicks 21 style. First injuring a few, then injuring the enemy. Only then did Meng Tong seize this opportunity. For an expert in the early stage of the foundation establishment realm who had just entered the foundation establishment realm, once he was hit by the 1,000 kicks 21 styles, the result would be fatal. In other words, Chow Honkai's strategy of injuring a few before injuring the enemy might not even have a chance to fight back. He would be killed first. This possibility was not small. Moreover, even if Chow Honkai could survive Meng Tong's 1,000 kicks 21 styles, he might not be able to find a chance to fight back. Because if he took the full brunt of the 1,000 kicks 21 styles, he would be seriously injured. Once his tendons and veins were damaged, he would not be able to circulate his true qi. No matter how long he prepared his cold iron palm, he would not be able to use it, let alone fight back. However, even though he knew that his chances of winning were slim, Chow Honkai still did not hesitate to gamble. If it was any other normal person, if they were not forced into a desperate situation, they would not gamble like a desperate gambler. Was there a hole in their brain? He was ruthless to others, but he was even more ruthless to himself. Although this lumber waste looked vulnerable, he was actually a ruthless person. You really can't judge a book by its cover. At this moment, on the stage, Meng Tong had taken the full brunt of the cold iron palm's 21 styles. His face was pale as paper, and he kept vomiting blood. Although it seemed that he would not die for a while, he did not even have the strength to say a word, wanting him to stand up and fight again. On the other hand, Chow Honkai had relied on an extremely patient counterattack to completely reverse the situation in an instant, and he had even almost succeeded in killing Meng Tong with a single move. Such a magnificent feat had truly blinded the eyes of everyone present. It was no exaggeration to say that after today's fight, Chow Honkai would definitely become famous. As for the nickname Lumber Waste, from then on, they would be cut off from him. If he was Lumber Waste, then what about Meng Jueguang's Meng Tong? An idiot who couldn't even defeat a piece of trash? Lin Yi and the rest looked at each other, their faces filled with satisfaction. Chow Honkai's hidden trump card was too satisfying. What did I say before? I said that Junior Marshall Brother Chow was just like all of you, that he wasn't an ordinary person. See, I was right. Senior Marshall Brother Ku Bai was so surprised that he was incoherent. These years of bitter life had taught him a bloody lesson. How did it suddenly turn out like this? I'm the meat on the chopping block. In the blink of an eye, how did the position change completely? However, Meng Tong had just been hit by the 21st style of the cold iron palm. Now, he was almost in a state of near death. Being able to hang on to his last breath was already the best he could do, not to mention moving. Even opening his mouth to speak was a luxury. In this situation, if Qiao Hongkai were to kill him, not only would Meng Tong not be able to dodge, he would not even be able to open his mouth to surrender. He could only lie on the ground in this extremely twisted position, waiting for death. At this moment, not only was Meng Tong scared to the point of peeing, but Meng Jueguang, who was in the audience, was also frightened. If Qiao Hongkai really succeeded, then not only would Meng Tong die, but he, Meng Jueguang, would also suffer a heavy loss. However, according to the rules of the newcomer challenge, other than the two on the stage voluntarily admitting defeat, no one else was allowed to interfere. In other words, unless Meng Tong took the initiative to surrender, even Meng Jueguang, the big senior brother, could not save him. He could only watch as he was beaten to death. Meng Tong wanted to take the initiative to surrender, but the most fatal problem was that he could not open his mouth at all. At the moment, the only person who could decide whether Meng Tong lived or died was Qiao Hongkai. No one else, including the referee, could stop him. Chapter 3790. Meng Tong mumbled in horror for a while, only to see his throat squirm. In a hurry, a mouthful of blood suddenly blocked his throat, making him unable to speak at all. His originally bloodless face instantly became even paler. Even if it was an early-stage Foundation establishment expert, when his life was truly in the hands of others, he would not be any more tenacious than an ordinary person. On the contrary, the higher the person was, the more fragile he would be in such a situation. This was because the higher he climbed, the harder he fell. He would lose far more than an ordinary person, accustomed to Meng Tong's arrogance and disregard for the other newcomers of Blue Cloud Pavilion. Qiao Hongkai's insufferably arrogant behavior, compared to his current pathetic and lowly appearance, made Qiao Hongkai laugh. Sure enough, people are cheap. If you think too highly of yourself, in the end, you will find out that you are not even a fart. Looks like newcomer Meng Tong has nothing else to say. Then, this trash will reluctantly send you on your way. If you have any words in the future, remember to call me in my dreams. Qiao Hongkai sneered and immediately gathered vital energy on her palm, preparing to send Meng Tong on his way. In an instant, it was as if time had frozen. Everyone did not even dare to breathe too loudly. Their eyes were glued to Qiao Hongkai's movements, and they could not help but swallow their saliva. As for Meng Jueguang, his face was so gloomy that it could drip water, but there was nothing he could do. Murder and arson were nothing new in the world of cultivation. Back then, when more than 1,000 people from the Choshui Manor were silenced, it was only a topic of gossip. In comparison, only a handful of people would die in the newcomer challenge. There was nothing worth paying attention to. However, this was indeed the first time they had seen someone die in the Welcome Pavilion. This was the first time someone had died. Furthermore, it was the final stab in front of all the rookies. This was an unprecedented precedent. Today, after killing Meng Tong, Qiao Hongkai would definitely replace him and become the dark horse of this year's Blue Cloud Pavilion newcomers. She would become a fearsome demon under Lin Yi. Go in peace. Qiao Hongkai sneered and struck Meng Tong with the 20th form of the cold iron palm. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. His heart instantly leaped to his throat. Seeing that Meng Tong was about to die under the iron palm, Qiao Hongkai's iron palm suddenly stopped, less than 10 centimeters away from Meng Tong's forehead. Holy shit! What is Lumber Waist trying to do? That palm strike was clearly enough to subdue him, but he stopped at the last moment. Wasn't this a joke? Meng Jueguang's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Meng Tong's death was an unacceptable blow to him, If this old cat Chow Honkai continued to tease him like a mouse, then his face would be completely lost. In the future, he wouldn't even be able to lift his head when he saw other new disciples of Clear Cloud Pavilion. However, just as Meng Jueguang was about to explode, Chow Honkai suddenly groaned. She fell to the ground with a mouthful of blood. She struggled for a long time, but could not get up. Holy shit! I was so scared that I was on tenterhooks. It turns out that this piece of trash is just a piece of trash who is outwardly strong but inwardly weak. Sure enough, a piece of trash is a piece of trash. Meng Jueguang was the first to react and was immediately overjoyed. He let out a long sigh of relief with lingering fear. The other newcomers also started discussing. As for Lin, Yi, and company, they could not help but look at each other. It was not easy for them to make it to the last step, but they did not expect it to be for naught. In fact, thinking about it, it was a miracle that Chow Honkai could last until now. Not only did he suffer the full damage of Meng Tongtong's 1,000 Kicks 21 styles, but he also endured the serious injury and forcefully used the Cold Iron Palm 21 styles. If it was any other ordinary, early-stage foundation establishment expert, perhaps they would have already collapsed. To be able to hold on until now, Chow Hongsai's feat could already be called a man of iron and blood. This time, not only did the newcomers below the stage burst into an uproar, even the referee from Mysterious Pavilion did not know what to do. On both sides, Chow Honkai and Meng Tong were both seriously injured and could not move. Neither could do anything to the other. Although the two of them were not far from death, they could not help each other. They could only stand in this awkward stalemate. What should we do now? The bitter senior and Lin Yi looked at each other and shook their heads in unison. According to the rules of the newcomer challenge, the results could only be decided by the two sides. No one else had the right to interfere. However, the situation was troublesome. Both of them could not move. Meng Tong could not even speak for a while. As for Chow Honkai, although she could speak, she could not take the initiative to admit defeat. The two of them could not do anything to the other. They could only continue to waste time like this. However, when would it end if they continued to waste time like this? The other newcomers were still waiting to challenge them. What's more, although Chow Honkai and Meng Tong were still hanging on to their last breaths, they weren't in a good condition. If they continued to fight like this, they might both die in the ring. That would be hilarious. It had not even been 2 months. Newcomers who were able to reach the foundation establishment stage were rare stocks with great potential, especially in Blue Cloud Pavilion, especially since both of them were foundation establishment cultivators. If they were to let these two rookies with great potential die in the arena, it would be a huge problem. The so-called newcomer assessment system would be criticized to the point of no return. However, the rules of the newcomer challenge had been approved by the elders. Including the referee, no one present could interfere. Otherwise, they would be severely punished. If there was a stain on their record, it would be too bad. Helpless, the Mysterious Pavilion's referee could only ask Meng Jueguang to invite the pavilion master, Hu Yunfeng. Although Hu Yunfeng did not have the right to interfere with the newcomer challenge, he was still the pavilion master of the welcoming pavilion, so he could more or less make a decision. After Hu Yunfeng was invited, he saw that Chow Honkai and Meng Tong were in a stalemate. He was speechless and shook his head. He could not say a word for a long time. To be honest, he had spent a lot of time and effort on this rookie assessment system. He had considered all aspects and was counting on this as a political achievement. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to get the approval of the big shots in the Elder Council. However, this situation had never been taken into consideration. Other than the ban on weapons, there were no other restrictions. Under such loose rules, A duel between cultivators could result in a situation where both sides were injured and neither could do anything to the other. This was simply unbelievable. Chapter 3791. Although he was biased towards Meng Jueguang and Meng Tong, he was still the pavilion master of the Welcome Pavilion after all. He couldn't be too biased in front of everyone. In this situation, he couldn't judge Qiao Hongkai as the winner and Meng Tong as the winner. At most, it could be considered a draw. Although Meng Jueguang was only a senior in charge now, Hu Yunfeng had his own information channels. He already knew that Su Lingchong planned to support Meng Jueguang. In this way, both of them could be considered as Su Lingchong's people. In the future, they would be under the same faction, so they had to be more courteous to each other. A draw. Meng Jueguang was stunned. He purposely lowered his voice so that the people around didn't hear it. For Hu Yunfeng, the pavilion master, to declare this match a draw would show his objective and fair image. After all, everyone could see that Qiao Hongkai and Meng Tong fought to such an extent. It was naturally reasonable to say that it was a draw. No one could find fault with it. However, his suggestion just now was made to Meng Jueguang in private. This meant that if Meng Jueguang had any objections, there was still a chance to turn things around. Meng Jueguang was an experienced and astute person. He naturally couldn't not see the knack in this. Hu Yunfeng was leaving some leeway for him and was prepared to take the opportunity to do him a favor. He wouldn't even dare to think of such a thing in the past. After all, Hu Yunfeng was the pavilion master of the Welcome Pavilion, while he, Meng Jueguang, was just a small senior in charge. There was a huge difference in their statuses. Furthermore, they had a true superior and subordinate relationship. If there was anything, Hu Yunfeng would just give an order and it would be over. How would it be possible for Hu Yunfeng to discuss with him politely? Indeed, one had to look at the master before beating a dog. With young Master Su Lingchong backing him up, the treatment was indeed different. Based on this situation, if he were to take the position of the third pavilion master in the future, even the high and mighty pavilion master, Hu Yunfeng had to address him as a brother and hand over his arm. Meng Jueguang was secretly pleased. He thought for a moment before saying, "Lord Pavilion Master, the newcomer assessment's rules don't have the word 'tie' in it. After all, this rule was approved by the Elders Guild. If we were to change it in private, I'm afraid we'll be said to be disrespectful to the higher-ups and attract gossip. We are martial artists. There's no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. This is the principle." That's not wrong, but this matter has to be dealt with in a timely manner. If this drags on and something happens to the two newcomers on stage, it will be difficult for you and me to explain to the higher-ups. Hu Yunfeng said hesitantly. Indeed, even if it's a draw, it can be said that the weaker party has defeated the stronger party. Our welcoming pavilion has always advocated not fearing the stronger party and facing difficulties head-on. Thus, I, the pavilion master, announce that the winner of this battle is Meng Tong from Cave Abode number 13. Hu Yunfeng said righteously, "Count Meng Tong as the winner." The crowd was stunned. After they recovered from their shock, there was an uproar and a flurry of discussion. Although Hu Yunfeng's words, in theory, there was nothing to nitpick about. After all, according to the rules of the newcomer challenge competition, the challenger couldn't drag the time and had to make the first move within the time it takes to burn a stick of incense. However, everyone could see that in this battle, Qiao Hongkai had obviously turned the tables and gained the upper hand. If they had to give an explanation, it would be more reasonable to say that both sides were injured. However, Hu Yunfeng had directly judged that he had lost to Meng Tong. This was obviously unfair to Qiao Hongkai. Of course, this matter didn't concern them. The others would at most watch the commotion and discuss it. It wouldn't cause any disturbance. However, as the boss of Chow Honkai, Lin Yi wouldn't just watch his little brother suffer. Pavilion Master, forgive me for being curious, but have you ever seen a battle where the winner lies on the ground, not knowing if he's dead or alive, while the loser is still standing on the stage? Lin Yi slowly walked to the edge of the arena, raising an eyebrow as he asked. At this moment, after hearing Hu Yunfeng's announcement, Meng Tong let out a sigh of relief and fainted. On the other hand, Chow Honkai, who was judged to be the loser, forced himself to stand up. Chapter 3792. After being slapped in the face by a rookie like Lin Yi, Hu Yunfeng was immediately put on the spot. Although Meng Jueguang's suggestion sounded reasonable, the situation in front of him was really embarrassing. This feeling was like a referee blowing a whistle against his conscience, only to be exposed on the spot. Even with Hu Yunfeng's thick skin, he could not help but feel ashamed. This Meng Tong was really useless. Would it kill him to grit his teeth and hold on a little longer? Why did he have to fall so quickly? Didn't he see that Chow Honkai could still stand up? But no matter how embarrassed he was, words that he had said were like water that had been spilled. No matter how ironic the situation was, he could only bite the bullet and hold on. Your name is Lin Yi, right? A rookie dares to criticize this pavilion master's decision. Didn't the steward teach you the rules of the welcome pavilion? Hu Yunfeng looked coldly at Lin Yi and reprimanded him harshly. After pausing for a moment, Hu Yunfeng continued, "But since you've asked, I'll reluctantly answer your question in front of so many people. Just now was just now, and now is now, regardless of whether they are standing or kneeling. At least, when this pavilion master announced the decision, neither of them could stand up. You have any objections?" The audience looked at each other when they heard this. Although Hu Yunfeng's words were full of vigor, the content was pure sophistry. Everyone knew that the rules of the rookie challenge competition were to ensure fairness. The most basic and core concept was that the winner had to be decided by the contestants themselves, including the referee. No one was allowed to interfere for any reason. And in this lose-lose match, although Hu Yunfeng had no choice but to interfere, he had to minimize the interference to the outcome of the match. However, it was necessary to minimize the interference to the outcome of the competition. And the result was clearly a black whistle. He did not hesitate to favor Meng Tong, which clearly went against the original intent of the rookie challenge. His words could be said to be sophistry, but it was not an exaggeration. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh coldly. He was about to retort, but unexpectedly, Chow Honkai forced herself to walk down the stage. He gave Lin Yi a look, indicating that there was no need to continue arguing with Hu Yunfeng. Although he was very grateful to Lin Yi for standing up for him, he also knew that with the difference in status and identity between them, this kind of reasoning wouldn't yield any results. Even if he, boss Lin Yi, was strong and powerful, it couldn't change the fact that he was still a newcomer in the Clear Cloud Pavilion. A mere newcomer of Blue Cloud Pavilion dared to argue with the pavilion master of the welcoming pavilion. No matter how righteous he was, it was useless. The result was already determined. Lin Yi was well aware of this. Since Chow Honkai had the same intention, there was no need for him to continue being entangled with Hu Yunfeng. She had to let Chow Honkai vent her anger on herself. As for Hu Yunfeng, Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry. In the common world, there were many powerful people who had been stepped on by him. He wasn't in a hurry. A hero shouldn't be afraid of a weak background. This was also applicable on Sky Class Island. Was Zhang Liju a newcomer from the common world? But what would happen in the end? Ku Shixiang, you go back with Honkai first. I'll come over to heal him later. Lin Yi said to Ku Shixiang. Although Chow Honkai was heavily injured, Lin Yi was 100% sure that he could heal him in a short period of time. But Lin Yi was 100% sure that he'd be able to make a full recovery in a short amount of time. The challenge wasn't over yet, however, and Lin Yi and Xiao Ran had to stay here. Ku Shixiao and the others froze. They knew that Lin Yi was an elixir refiner, but they had never heard that he could heal people. He could concoct elixirs and heal wounds. Was Lin Yi heading in the direction of Miracle Dr. Dan St. John Liju? Although they were confused, Ku Shixiao and the others didn't ask. As far as they were concerned, Lin Yi probably had a 4th level supreme level elixir or a 5th level supreme level elixir in his hands. Ku Shixiao nodded at Lin Yi and left with Qiao Hongkai. Lin Yi and the others stopped protesting. With that, the duel between Qiao Hongkai and Meng Tong was finished. Although it was a lose-lose situation, Meng Tong took advantage of Hu Yunfeng's favoritism. He took 4 points from Qiao Hongkai and took the 12th cave. Boss, what do you think if I challenge Meng Tong now? Xiao Ran suggested. Meng Tong was unconscious now, and even if he woke up, he would be useless. If Xiao Ran were to challenge him now, Meng Tong's only choice would be to surrender. Otherwise, for the sake of Qiao Hongkai, even an honest man like Xiao Ran wouldn't mind sending him on his way. On top of that, Meng Tong was currently residing in the 12th dwelling at the foot of the mountain. In the entire Clear Cloud Pavilion, other than the heavily injured Qiao Hongkai, the only people who could challenge him were Cha Wu in the 14th dwelling and Xiao Ran in the 15th dwelling. If Xiao Ran proposed to challenge Meng Tong, it would be reasonable. Even if Meng Jueguang and the others pulled Pavilion Master Hu Yunfeng over, it would be useless. They wouldn't be able to find any reason to stop Xiao Ran. Unexpectedly, Lin Yi smiled indifferently and said, "Let's leave this resentment to Hongkai in the next round. Just follow the original plan and fight your way up one cave at a time. Not only will you not waste your points, but you might even make Meng Tong cry even more." Xiao Ran was stunned. Looking at Lin Yi's mysterious smile, he thought for a moment and smiled knowingly. "Then I know what to do." The reason was very simple. If he challenged Meng Tong now, it would indeed be hitting him while he was down, and he would be able to help Qiao Hongkai vent her resentment. But there would be a side effect, and that was Meng Tong would jump back to the 15th cave. In this way, as long as Meng Tong admitted defeat and took out the 4 points he had just obtained, he would be able to buy the 15th cave, which was an excellent safe haven. As long as he didn't challenge Meng Tong, no one would be able to disturb him. Such an outcome was obviously not what Lin Yi and the others wanted to see. Before making Meng Tong pay a heavy enough lesson, how could they let him off so easily? Not to mention Qiao Hongkai. Even Lin Yi wouldn't agree to this. On the surface, Hu Yunfeng's decision to side with Meng Tong did seem to give Meng Tong a great advantage, but in a sense, it was equivalent to pushing him into a pit of fire at the same time. Chapter 3793. After the bloody battle between Qiao Hongkai and Meng Tong in the Blue Cloud Pavilion Newcomer Challenge, the 3rd round continued. This time, the challenger was Xiao Ran. Xiao Ran from the 15th abode of the mountain, challenged Cha Wu from the 14th abode of the mountain. Xiao Ran announced in a clear voice after he walked into the ring. As soon as he said that, there was an uproar among the newcomers. Meanwhile, Meng Jueguang and Meng Tong, who had just woken up, could not help but heave a sigh of relief. In their eyes, Xiao Ran, as Qiao Hongkai's accomplice, had watched as Qiao Hongkai was whistled. Xiao Ran must have stood up for Qiao Hongkai. Why would he challenge a weakling like Cha Wu? It was simply inexplicable. Compared to the others, Cha Wu's face instantly turned as black as the bottom of a pot when he heard Xiao Ran's words. It was too horrible to look at, and he almost blurted out F***ck. Before this, after watching the fight between Qiao Hongkai and Meng Tong, especially after hearing Hu Yunfeng's unfair judgment. Cha Wu was actually quite happy in his heart. Of course, he was not stupid enough to challenge Meng Tong. Although Meng Tong was now severely injured, and as long as he challenged Meng Tong, it would be a piece of cake for him to gain 4 points. However, if he really dared to kick Meng Tong while he was down, he would definitely be doomed. He would not even know when he died. However, although he did not plan to kick Meng Tong while he was down, Cha Wu still saw an opportunity in it. It was an opportunity for Meng Tong and Lin Yi to fight each other while he remained aloof. Qiao Hongkai and Meng Tong were both injured. In order to stand up for Qiao Hongkai, Xiao Ran would directly challenge Meng Tong. When Meng Tong recovered, he would definitely challenge Xiao Ran and Qiao Hongkai out of consideration of face and points. This was the ideal scenario in Cha Wu's mind. It had to be known. There were only a total of 18 rounds in the challenge competition. If they kept going back and forth between the cave abodes with low rankings, it was obviously not worth it for strong rookies like Meng Tong. They had to fight to a higher ranking as soon as possible to have a chance to grab more challenge points. Therefore, in theory, Cha Wu's ideal scenario was very likely to become a reality. However, he did not expect that Xiao Ran would give him a hard slap the moment he came up. When Cha Wu saw Xiao Ran's refined and reserved aura of an expert that was as unmoving as a mountain, he nearly teared up. F*CK, can't you have some brotherly code of brotherhood? Can't you see that Qiao Hongkai has just suffered such a huge grievance? Hurry up and step on Meng Tong to avenge him. What kind of *T are you trying to do to a weakling like me? No matter how many profanities he cursed, Cha Wu could only reluctantly walk up to the arena. He had no choice but to accept the challenge. Blue Cloud Pavilion Newcomer Challenge Round 3, second match. Cave Abode 15. Xiao Ran challenges Cave Abode 14. Cha Wu. Begin. The referee announced. Please. Xiao Ran did not change his expression and made a gesture. Cha Wu's scalp suddenly went numb. Although he knew that he, as the bottom of the newcomers in Blue Cloud Pavilion, would definitely not be able to defeat Xiao Ran, it was more reliable and safer to admit defeat at this time. However, no matter how weak he was still a heaven stage great perfection expert. Any cultivator had strong self-esteem. Even a weakling like Cha Wu, who was trampled on by everyone, was no exception. Judging from his previous performance, this Xiao Ran was indeed not simple. However, after all, he had never really fought to the death with anyone. Last time, he was challenged by Meng Tong and even took the initiative to admit defeat. This meant that this guy's strength might not be as strong as everyone thought. Maybe he was just pretending? After all, this Xiao Ran was a guy from the secular world. It was natural that his foundation was not good. The probability of him being a fake was not small at all. It was impossible for every cultivator from the secular world to be as abnormal as Lin Yi, right? If that was really the case, the status of the secular world and Heaven Stage Island would have been changed long ago. Why would this group of people go through so much trouble to come to Heaven Stage Island? Cha Wu still had 4 points. If he could win today's match, not only would he not lose 2 points, he could even earn some points from Xiao Ran. This way, as long as he could make 2 spiritual herb seeds grow in the spiritual herb trial, he would be able to protect his last shred of shame. At least, he would not fall into the negative points and would have a chance of survival. However, if he took the initiative to admit defeat today, there would be no chance of survival. Therefore, no matter what, Cha Wu could only grit his teeth and choose to fight with Xiao Ran. Holding on to this little bit of luck, Cha Wu finally mustered up the courage to attack after taking a deep breath. Compared to Meng Tong, who was in the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm. Even if Cha Wu went all out, his speed could not be said to be fast, let alone give Xiao Ran any pressure. Xiao Ran did not even use the shadow step. He simply moved horizontally and directly avoided his opponent's attack. Then, while his opponent was not able to react, Xiao Ran stretched out his arm and grabbed the back of his opponent's collar. With a little force, Cha Wu's body suddenly flew into the air. When he landed again, he was already outside the ring. According to the rules of the challenge, whoever fell out of the ring, regardless of whether they were injured or not, would lose. This is over. Everyone was instantly dumbfounded. Wasn't it over too quickly? It was true that Cha Wu was a weakling. The last time he took the initiative to challenge Lin Yi, he was cleanly defeated in a second. However, his opponent was, after all, Lin Yi, the #1 newcomer, who had always been domineering. Everyone was already mentally prepared for this, so it was not strange for such a situation to occur. However, this time it was just Xiao Ran, who had never displayed a strong performance. In just one face-to-face confrontation, he even used the most basic of martial arts techniques. The people below the ring could not even see through Xiao Ran's current strength. In the end, Cha Wu could not even let out a fart and was inexplicably thrown off the ring. A weakling was indeed a F***king weakling. He could not do anything at all. Xiao ran from the 15th cave at the foot of the mountain challenges, Cha Wu from the 14th cave at the foot of the mountain. Xiao Ran wins. The judge announced decisively, "Thank you for letting me win." Xiao Ran cupped his hands at Cha Wu, who was below the ring. Then he calmly walked off the ring. Damn, how did I get down? Until Xiao Ran left the ring, Cha Wu still had not reacted. How the F***ck did I get down? Chapter 3794. Previously, everyone thought that Xiao Honkai was lumber waist, but in the end, she became an expert in the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm. She even fought with Meng Tong until both of them were injured. Now, this Xiao Ran easily defeated Cha Wu with just one move, and no one could see the depth of his strength. However, with Meng Jueguang's strength and eyesight, it was impossible that he couldn't see it. When Xiao Ran made his move just now, although he didn't show his full strength, Meng Jueguang could clearly feel that this ordinary-looking Xiao Ran was already an expert in the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm, just like lumber waist. Xiao Ran, Xiao Honkai, two experts in the early stage of the Foundation establishment realm, and Lin Yi, the freakishly strong #1 newcomer. In the past, he didn't think that it was anything special, but now that he thought about it, the lineup of these three people was absolutely luxurious. Although outside, including Lin Yi, the three of them could only be considered to be at the beginning stage, and they couldn't be compared to the word awesome, but in the Welcome Pavilion, it was a real dream lineup. Not only was it awesome, it was simply awesome. Even Meng Jueguang, the big brother in charge, who had the chance to be promoted to the position of the third master of the Welcoming Pavilion, couldn't help but feel a headache when he thought of this lineup. Originally, Lin Yi's strength wasn't that scary, but if everyone in the group started to become stronger, things would become very difficult. Not only would it be more difficult to deal with Lin Yi and the other two people together, but more importantly, once the three of them grew stronger, the situation in the future might be reversed. Then Meng Jueguang, who had repeatedly gone against him, would really come to an end. No, he had to think of a way to nip this danger in the bud as soon as possible. Otherwise, if he didn't kill the snake, there would be endless trouble in the future. Meng Jueguang glanced at Lin Yi and Xiao Ran viciously. Then he looked at Meng Tong, who was seriously injured and lying on the side. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Lin Yi, Xiao Ran, and Xiao Honkai. Although the lineup of these three people looked very strong in the welcome pavilion under the protection of the newcomers, they were not as strong as they used to be. It could even be said that they were unsolvable, but it was not impossible to deal with them. At the very least, there was a flaw among the three of them, a fatal flaw. And this flaw was in Qiao Hongkai. Don't forget that Meng Tong was seriously injured and in a sorry state. Qiao Hongkai, who was injured along with him, was not in a good state either. It was impossible for her to recover within 10 days to half a month. Although he didn't know exactly how strong Xiao Ran was right now, and whether he had successfully built his foundation, like Qiao Hongkai, but the current Qiao Hongkai, without a doubt, he was the weakest link among Lin Yi's trio. Now was the perfect opportunity to eliminate him. However, Meng Jueguang was currently faced with a very awkward problem. He had too few strong subordinates. At the very least, there were too few chess pieces that could be used to deal with Lin Yi and the other two. From the looks of it, other than Meng Tong, he could not find anyone else. Li Zhongming was not bad, but he had not built his foundation, unlike Meng Tong, who had foundation elixir and foundation elixir. It was impossible for him to break through to foundation elixir in a short period of time with his own strength. And if Li Zhongming could not do it, then the other newcomers who had come to rely on him would be even worse. If they wanted to deal with Lin, Yi, and the other two, no matter how they thought about it, this heavy responsibility could only fall on Meng Tong's shoulders. Meng Jueguang was the dignified eldest senior brother in charge of managing affairs. But the lineup of newcomers under him was far from being as solid and strong as Lin Yi's, a mere newcomer from the secular world. This kind of thing was more than just ironic. It was simply laughable. And now, the even more awkward problem was that he clearly knew where the flaws of Lin Yi and the other two were, but his only capable chess piece, Meng Tong, was also seriously injured. And because of the ranking of the cave abode, he had no way to take the initiative to attack Qiao Hongkai. He clearly knew the opponent's flaws, but he had no way to attack. This time, Meng Jueguang truly experienced what it meant to be a pain in the ass. This won't do. This is a rare opportunity. If I miss this opportunity, there won't be another one. I can't let a piece of trash like lumber waste continue to be arrogant. Meng Jueguang frowned as he pondered. He looked at Meng Tong at his feet and suddenly had an idea. Then the corners of his mouth curled into a sinister smile. After Xiao Ran and Cha Wu, the rookie challenge competition finally went on the right track. Although there weren't any dazzling figures like the top 5 appearing, with the previous few matches as a prelude, the other newcomers also seemed to be on steroids. There were some exchanges, and it was quite exciting. After the third round of the rookie challenge competition ended, and the newcomers dispersed, Lin Yi went to cave abode number 13 at the foot of the mountain to treat Qiao Hongsai's injuries. Although it wasn't life-threatening, Qiao Hongsai's injuries were serious. If he wasn't treated quickly, it would be easy for the illness to persist. "Boss, you really can heal people? I thought you made some elixir for me." Feeling the warmth from Lin Yi's palm, Qiao Hongkai couldn't help but be surprised. Not only him, but Xiao Ran and Kubai Shixiao, who weren't there, thought so as well. After all, it wasn't about quantity but quality. There was only one miracle Dan doctor, Zhang Liju. If everyone else did the same thing, then the end result would be nothing special. Not only would they not be able to do anything special, but it would also affect the most important part of their strength. It wasn't worth it. Even if I, your boss, am an elixir refiner, I don't know how to make any elixir. Besides, it takes time, right? How can it be as convenient as healing you directly? Besides, it's not a big deal. It's just that my practice is a little special. Lin Yi smiled faintly. Ha ha, boss, that's easy for you to say. I've been practicing for so many years, and I've never seen anyone heal people like this. This time, I've seen it for myself. No wonder you're our boss, mighty and domineering. You're good at everything. Chow Honkai praised with a smile. This kid really knew how to flatter people. Linny shook his head speechlessly and remember, don't tell anyone that I can heal people. It'll cause trouble. That's for sure. Don't worry, boss. An innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. I know this very well. I won't tell anyone. Chow Honkai promised. Lin Yi nodded in relief and signaled Chow Honkai to focus on healing. Time passed, and after 6 hours, Lin Yi finally retracted his chi and ended the healing. After you're done here, I still have to go back and transfer vital energy to the spiritual medicine seed. Oh, Chow Honkai nodded repeatedly and began to carefully examine the condition of his body. However, just as he started, he was instantly stunned and couldn't speak. At this moment, not only did all the fatal injuries in his body disappear without a trace, but he also discovered that the vital energy in his body was actually purer and stronger than before. One had to know that he had just successfully reached the Foundation Establishment realm yesterday. Although he already had the strength of the early stage of the Foundation Establishment realm, his realm was not stable. The flow of the vital energy in his body was also sometimes strong and sometimes weak. For the time being, he couldn't completely control it. But now, not only was his vital energy purer and stronger, but he could also control it perfectly with just a thought. Logically speaking, this kind of fire would require another half a month of hard training. Only after the initial stage of Foundation establishment was completely stabilized would it be possible. He had been on the brink of death, but after Lin Yi's treatment, not only did his injuries heal, but his strength had also increased by a huge amount. How is this healing? Even the legendary 4th grade great revitalizing pill doesn't have such an exaggerated and heaven-defying effect. Looking at Chow Honkai, she was dumbfounded. Lin Yi couldn't help but ask curiously, "What's wrong? Is there something wrong?" Unexpectedly, Chow Honkai swallowed a mouthful of saliva, turned her head, and asked seriously, "Boss, don't tell me you're the reincarnation of some deity? Immortal mighty figure? Reincarnation?" Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although there were powerful cultivators in this world who could fly in the sky and burrow into the ground, there had never been a so-called immortal mighty figure. Myths and legends and the real world of cultivation were two completely different concepts. "Oh, I get it. Boss, you're the reincarnation of an immortal mighty figure. You can't let others know, right? Don't worry. I'll definitely keep my mouth shut," Chow Honkai repeatedly promised. Apart from this reason, with his meager knowledge, he really couldn't imagine how an ordinary cultivator in the secular world could have such heaven-defying abilities as Lin Yi. It didn't make sense at all. Lin Yi could only roll his eyes at Chow Honkai's performance and wave his hand. "I can tell that you're fine just by looking at you. I'll be leaving first. You need to get used to your condition these few days. There's a tough battle waiting for you in the next round. Don't get careless." Chow Honkai nodded. After saying that, Lin Yi didn't stay for long. He turned around and left the cave. It just so happened that it was time for him to instill vital energy into the spiritual medicine seed every day. It was a matter of great importance and couldn't be easily delayed. "Don't worry, boss. I'll teach that scum a good lesson." Chow Honkai changed his cheeky face and said to Lin Yi's back in a deep voice. The tough battle that Lin Yi mentioned was naturally the opponent Meng Tong. This was something that Chow Honkai was well aware of. Although it was impossible for Meng Tong to receive treatment from boss Lin Yi Meng Jueguang, as the big senior brother in charge, would definitely think of a way to get all kinds of healing elixirs to help him recover before the next round of battle. There was nothing to doubt about this. Even if Meng Jueguang didn't have the financial resources, don't forget that behind them stood Su Lingchong, the young master with a profound background. In the eyes of others, a fourth-grade Great Recover pill was something that could only be encountered by luck. But for young Master Su, it was obviously not a problem. It was obviously a battle where both sides were injured, but who Yunfeng judged that he was the loser and Meng Tong was the winner. With Qiao Hongsai's nature of abhorring evil, he obviously couldn't endure this resentment. Qiao Hongkai wouldn't have been so stupid as to let himself be trampled on if he hadn't recovered from his injuries. No matter how hot-tempered Qiao Hongkai was, he wouldn't be so stupid as to let someone step on him while he was injured. But now that Lin Yi had healed him, his condition was even better than before. He wouldn't be Qiao Hongkai if he didn't get his revenge now. Chapter 3796. Although Qiao Hongkai seemed a little reckless, she was not. 3 days passed in a flash, and the fourth round of the newcomer challenge began as scheduled. After the first 3 rounds, especially the third round, where Qiao Hongkai and Meng Tong fought fiercely, the newcomer challenge had clearly entered a white-hot stage. No newcomer would hide. As long as there was the slightest chance, they would definitely pounce out like a hungry wolf to snatch points. It was exciting to watch. However, on the side of Blue Cloud Pavilion, the biggest focus was still on the top 5. To be precise, it was on Meng Tong and Qiao Hongkai. These two had just fought to the death in the last round. In the previous round, Meng Tong and Qiao Hongkai had both been heavily injured. If it had been any other ordinary newcomer present with such a brutal injury, even if they were lucky enough to survive, they would probably not be able to get up for at least 10 days to half a month. However, what made the newcomers amazed was that after 3 days of recuperation, whether it was Meng Tong or Qiao Hongkai, they were able to move freely like normal people. However, the two of them still looked a little weak, as if they had not fully recovered from their injuries. With the two of them in such a weak state, if it wasn't for the fact that their cave-dwelling rankings were low, the other newcomers might have thought of taking advantage of them. After all, so what if they were early-stage foundation establishment experts? At this time, it was obvious that they were like tigers being bullied by dogs. A sick tiger was not as good as a cat. As the newcomers waited with different thoughts in their minds, the referee finally arrived. The fourth round of the newcomer challenge had officially begun. Qiao Hongkai and Lin Yi looked at each other. Then, under everyone's astonished gaze, they slowly walked onto the stage and pointed at Meng Tong. "Come on, great newcomer Meng. You were lucky enough to escape in the last round. Let's continue today. Who will have the last laugh?" Qiao Hongsai's challenge to Meng Tong was not unexpected at all. After all, anyone who was treated so unfairly by Qiao Hongkai would not be able to hold back their anger. Naturally, it was better to vent this anger as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would not be able to think clearly. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, they listened to Qiao Hongsai's declaration of challenge. Meng Jueguang and Meng Tong looked at each other and could not help but laugh sinisterly. "I'm not afraid of you challenging me. I'm afraid that you won't dare to challenge me." What none of the rookies present expected was that Meng Tong's weak appearance was just an act for Qiao Hongkai to see. It was to lure him into challenging him. In fact, 2 days ago, because he had consumed a grade 4 great recovery pill given by Meng Jueguang, Meng Tong had already recovered from his injuries. After 2 days of recuperation, his condition could be said to be at his peak. And the reason why Meng Jueguang was willing to spend so much on Meng Tong was to deal with Qiao Hongkai. Since he had already realized that Lin Yi and company were gradually becoming too big for them to handle, Meng Jueguang naturally would not allow them to continue growing. as their archenemy, Meng Jueguang naturally would not allow them to continue growing. Now that Xiao Hongkai had yet to recover from his injuries, he was the weakest link. Taking advantage of his weakness, Meng Jueguang would definitely not be soft-hearted. However, even if he could obtain a grade 4 great recovery pill, allowing Meng Tong to recover in a day, there was one thing that could not be changed. That was that Xiao Hongkai was in cave abode number 13. Meng Tong was in cave abode number 12. His ranking was higher than Xiao Hongcai's, which meant that he did not have the right to initiate a challenge. This meant that whether or not he wanted to challenge, and when he wanted to challenge, would be decided by Xiao Hongkai. Meng Tong did not have any right to speak. Therefore, in order to grasp the perfect opportunity, when Xiao Hongkai had yet to recover from his injuries, Meng Jueguang had made Meng Tong pretend to be weak to lure Xiao Hongkai into taking the bait. With Xiao Hongcai's straightforward and fiery personality, coupled with the unfair treatment he received in the previous round, he would definitely be filled with resentment if he were to pretend to be weak at this time. As long as he could recover even a little bit of his strength, he would definitely not swallow it. The result proved that Meng Jueguang's plan was successful, just like what he and Meng Tong had hoped for. Xiao Hongkai, this reckless idiot, could not wait to jump out and die. This time, we must not leave him alive. Before going on stage, Meng Jueguang whispered to Meng Tong. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Once he missed this perfect opportunity, it would be very difficult to kill this trash Xiao in the future. After all, Lumber Waste was an expert in the early stage of foundation building. If he were to fight with Meng Tong at his peak, even if Meng Tong had the advantage in martial arts, it would be very difficult for him to kill his opponent. Ninth cousin, don't worry. Lumber Waste will not live to see the day. Meng Tong grinned without batting an eyelid. His eyes were filled with murderous intent, but at the same time, there was also a trace of hidden disdain. After all, Lin Yi was the opponent that Meng Tong had always wanted to step on. Lumber Waste was just a minion under Lin Yi. As the self-proclaimed leader of the new generation of Blue Cloud Pavilion, if he had to fight a minion like Lumber Waste for 2 consecutive rounds, how would he have the face to compete with Lin Yi in the future? Under everyone's gaze, Meng Tong deliberately pretended to be weak as he walked into the ring with a cold smile. Originally, with his arrogant style, he would not put in so much effort to deal with a guy like Lumber Waste. Not only was it not his style, but it was also embarrassing. Even if he were to pretend, he could remove his disguise the moment Xiao Hongkai took the initiative to challenge him. After all, his opponent had already taken the bait, and he had achieved his goal. However, today, Meng Tong acted like a completely different person. Not only did he get Xiao Hongkai to take the bait, he even continued to pretend when he was in the ring. He wanted to take advantage of Xiao Hongkai and end all troubles once and for all. After suffering, this kid has matured a lot. Meng Jueguang could not help but feel gratified. Meng Tong was the right-hand man that he relied on the most. Although his loyalty and strength were not bad, the most fatal problem was that he never used his brain. In the long run, he would at most be a new fighter. He was far from being able to take charge. But now, this guy was finally enlightened. This was a rare and unexpected gain. In Meng Jueguang's calculations, the financial resources of Lin Yi's group obviously could not be compared to his, who had young Master Su as his backing. Chapter 3797. But even so, Meng Tong still chose to continue to feign weakness and numb his opponent, waiting for an opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. Not to mention whether his acting was good or not, just his scheming was hard to come by. Walking to the ring, Meng Tong stared at Xiao Hongkai and sneered, "I was tricked by you in the last round. which was why I was barely able to force you into a lose-lose situation. Today, I won't be so lucky. Even if I haven't fully recovered from my injuries, killing you is as easy as killing a chicken." Unexpectedly, Chow Honkai curled her lips indifferently and said, "Are these your last words, great newcomer Meng? It sounds like you haven't made any arrangements for your funeral." Meng Tong was speechless. After being stunned for a moment, he gritted his teeth and snorted coldly, sharp-tongued. "You don't know the meaning of death." Seeing that both sides were ready, the referee immediately announced the first match of the fourth round of the Blue Cloud Pavilion Newcomer Challenge. Abode 13 Xiao Honkai challenges Abode 12 Meng Tong. Begin. As soon as he finished speaking, Meng Tong's figure shot out like an arrow from a bow. He threw away his weak disguise, which had yet to recover from his injuries, towards Chow Honkai. Without hesitation, he used his strongest move, the Thousand Legs 21 style. He was prepared to cut through the Gordian knot. Any disguise could not be delayed for too long. As long as he achieved the effect of confusing his opponent, he had to immediately tear off his disguise and take the opportunity to deliver a fatal blow. Otherwise, if it dragged on for too long, he would reveal his flaws. This was the strategy that Meng Jueguang had taught him. According to common sense, tearing off his disguise and launching an all-out attack right from the start was enough to catch his opponent off guard. If his opponent was injured, it would be easy to kill him in one blow. In order to pursue results, Meng Tong did not even have the intention to use the Thousand Legs Phantom Shadow to test the waters. Instead, he attacked with all his might right from the start. However, what surprised Meng Tong and Meng Jueguang was that Meng Tong's sudden attack, which tore off his disguise, was forcefully blocked by Chow Hongsai's 21st style of cold iron palm. F*CK. You trash! How dare you pretend to be injured to scare me? Despicable and shameless. Feeling the sharp pain from his leg, Meng Tong's face instantly turned green. He had always thought that she was like Chow Honkai. It was impossible for her to get a rare 4th grade recover pill. It was impossible for her to recover in just 3 days. Therefore, when he saw that Chow Hongsai's footsteps were weak, he had the first impression that this guy was really injured. From the beginning to the end, neither Meng Tong nor Meng Jueguang had any doubts. They had never thought that this trash would have the same idea as Meng Tong. Otherwise, how could a mere injured person make such a powerful cold iron palm? Moreover, it was so overbearing that it could hit back Meng Tong's Thousand Legs 21st style. In order to trick people, he did not hesitate to throw in a 4th grade recover pill. But this time, he did not hit the goose, but was pecked in the eye first. In the audience, Meng Jueguang could not help but blush. In his usual understanding, Lumber Waist was obviously the same as Meng Tong. They both had a straightforward temper. How did he suddenly become so insidious? What made him even more puzzled was that Chow Honkai was obviously seriously injured before. But in just 3 days, he was now as lively as Meng Tong, who had taken a 4th grade recover pill. How the hell did he do it? With the meager resources of Lin Yi's group, it was impossible for them to take out such a rare 4th grade recover pill. Could it be Lu Bianren? Thinking about it, only Lu Bianren, the 3rd Pavilion Master, had the ability to get a 4th grade recover pill. Damn it, wait until I become the 3rd Pavilion Master. See how I will deal with you, meddlesome old thing. While Meng Jueguang was holding a grudge against Lu Bianren, Chow Honkai on the stage looked at Meng Tong and sneered. Same to you. We are all the same. How dare you say that I am despicable? Meng Tong was speechless. Even he himself was pretending, but Chow Honkai had the same idea. What was so strange about giving him a taste of his own medicine? After a while, Meng Tong snorted coldly. Humph! Well, since it has been exposed, there is no need to continue hiding. I will use my strength to trample you to death. I will let you see how big the gap between us is. Xiao Honkai suddenly laughed. You are talking about being upright when your conspiracy has been exposed. Great newcomer Meng, did you learn your shamelessness from one of your cousins? As soon as he said that, the audience couldn't help but laugh. The one of my cousins that Xiao Honkai was talking about was Meng Jueguang. He was indirectly scolding Meng Jueguang for being shameless. Hearing this, Meng Jueguang's face turned black. He clearly knew that Trash Xiao, this bastard, was beating around the bush and scolding him, but he couldn't fight back. After all, Trash Xiao was only talking about Meng Tong's certain cousin and not his ninth cousin. If he were to speak at this time, wouldn't he be taking the initiative to take the initiative and slap his own face? Fortunately, the awkwardness didn't last long. On the stage, Meng Tong had already used his actions to fight back for him. Without saying anything, he directly turned into thousands of leg shadows and pounced on Xiao Honkai. Because of the last round, both Meng Tong and Xiao Honkai had a deep understanding of each other's strength. It was clear at a glance where the other was strong and where the other was weak. There was nothing they could hide from each other. As the saying goes, the one who understands you the most is your enemy. So from this point of view, Meng Tong's so-called upright was somewhat reasonable. Since they knew each other like the back of their hand, there was no place for them to hide, and there was no chance for them to trick each other. The only choice for both sides was to use their strongest strength and fight to the death again. The following battle between the two once again showed everyone what cruelty and tragedy was. Just as Xiao Honkai was hit by the Thousand Legs 21 style, Meng Tong immediately had to follow up with the Cold Iron Palm 21 style. Coughing up blood was considered a light punishment. After a few exchanges, the final situation was exactly the same as the previous round. After a few exchanges, both sides were once again sprawled on the ground, unable to move. This time, the injuries they suffered were even more severe than the previous round. It was completely wishful thinking for them to stand up again. The fact that they were able to hold their breath and not die was already a rare feat for them to have such strong willpower. Looking at this seemingly familiar scene, everyone present was instantly dumbfounded. All of them were flabbergasted. Aren't the strength of these two people a little too similar? They've fought twice in a row, and both of them were actually injured. In the previous round, Hu Yunfeng was unscrupulous enough to judge Meng Tong as the winner. In the end, it had only been 3 days, and he was immediately met with retribution. This situation was really ironic. In the previous round, when Xiao Honkai was judged to have lost, everyone at the scene felt a little sad. But this round, when the same thing happened to Meng Tong, not only did the crowd not feel that it was unfair, but they also felt that this slap in the face was very satisfying. Don't forget, these newcomers were already under Meng Jueguang's command and name. They were in the same camp as Meng Tong. However, this self-proclaimed leader of the newcomers, Meng Tong's character was really too bad. His relations with others were just too bad. Not only did Li Zhengming, who was repeatedly tricked by him, even the other newcomers did not buy it. If young Master Meng knew of this result, it was really unknown how he would feel. However, this situation was not entirely bad for Meng Tong. After all, at the same time that he had 4 points deducted, his cave ranking had also dropped back to cave number 13 at the foot of the mountain, falling behind Xiao Honkai and regaining the initiative. And more importantly, although he had fallen into the awkward situation of being seriously injured again, and there was still Xiao Ran, Lin Yi's right-hand man behind him, once he was challenged, he would not be able to fight back at all. However, he had already been challenged by Xiao Honkai once today. according to the rules of the challenge. He had the right to reject any subsequent challenges. In other words, even if Xiao Ran wanted to hit him when he was down, at least he would not have the chance to do so in this round. This was a rare piece of good news. With an experienced master like Meng Jueguang, Xiao Ran's strength in the early stage of foundation establishment had already been seen through when he fought against Cha Wu in the last round. According to the previous strength of the perfect stage of Heaven Stage, even if they were both in the early stage of foundation establishment, Xiao Ran's real combat power was probably above Xiao Hongkai. This could be seen from the previous round when Xiao Ran threw Cha Wu out of the ring without any effort. If it was Xiao Hongkai who had also just succeeded in foundation establishment, or even Meng Tong who had been in foundation establishment for a period of time, they would not be able to do it as smoothly and easily as him. Lumber Waist alone had already fought with Meng Tong in 2 rounds consecutively, and both sides suffered. If there was an even stronger Xiao Ran, then whether it was Meng Tong who bore the brunt of the attack or Meng Jueguang who stood behind the scenes, they would only be at a disadvantage. The most ironic thing was that these 2 people were only Lin Yi's underlings. Lin Yi did not even need to make a move himself. Just these 2 underlings were enough to force Meng Jueguang and Meng Tong into a mess. The dignified senior brother, who was in charge of the newcomers in Blue Cloud Pavilion, and the future 3rd Pavilion Master of the Welcome Pavilion, was in a terrible situation because of the underlings of a newcomer in the secular world. How could they endure this? Although it could be said that Meng Tong had escaped this round due to the rules of the challenge, he was still helpless about what to do in the next round. Xiao Hongkai was in front of him, and Xiao Ran was behind him. Meng Tong did not dare to move at all when he was sandwiched by these 2 people. If he continued to fight, he would either continue to fight with Xiao Hongkai or skip Xiao Hongkai and directly find a newcomer with a higher ranking in the cave abode to plunder more points. However, no matter what the situation was, after the challenge, either Xiao Hongkai or Xiao Ran would definitely take advantage of the situation. If he stayed in the cave abode, number 13 at the foot of the mountain, then Xiao Hongkai would not have the qualifications to take the initiative to challenge him. However, don't forget that Xiao Ran was blocking his way. When that time came, he would have to continue to fight with others, and the challenge points he could get in the end would be pitiful. Now, in this challenge round, this idiot Lin Yi was trapped in his own trap. It was not easy for him to give Meng Tong a chance to overtake his points. If he continued to be entangled with these 2 underlings of Lin Yi, he would miss this golden opportunity. Chapter 3799. At the end of the day, the biggest problem that Meng Jueguang and Meng Tong faced now was that Xiao Ran and Xiao Hongkai, who were originally just small fries under Lin Yi, had suddenly and inexplicably succeeded in building their foundations and became early-stage foundation-building experts in one fell swoop. Originally, Lin Yi alone was enough to make them scratch their heads, but now they realized that the situation had suddenly taken a turn for the worse. Not only could Meng Tong not defeat Lin Yi, he might not even be able to defeat any of Lin Yi's underlings. How could they continue to play? Although Meng Jueguang had many newcomers under him, among the 12 newcomers, only Meng Tong was in the early stage of foundation building. On the other hand, although there were only 3 people in Lin Yi's group, all of them had succeeded in building their foundations. It was obvious who was strong and who was weak at a glance. Faced with such a huge disparity in strength, no matter how astute Meng Jueguang was, it was useless. In the face of absolute strength, all the so-called plots and tricks were nothing but fleeting clouds. At this moment, Meng Jueguang, the eldest senior brother who was always scheming and never showed his emotions on his face, could not help but suddenly feel a little flustered, because he realized that if things continued like this, even if he had young Master Su's support and successfully sat on the position of Welcome Pavilion's 3rd pavilion head, he might not be able to do anything to Lin Yi and his group in the future. The performance of Lin Yi and his group of 3 was too eye-catching. Once they attracted the attention of the higher-ups of Blue Cloud Pavilion, it would be very difficult for him to obstruct them. If he was not careful, he would get into trouble instead, and it was not impossible for him to fail miserably in an easy task. Meng Jueguang thought about it, and finally came up with the only effective solution, which was to find a way to upgrade Meng Tong to another level as soon as possible so that he could once again have an overwhelming advantage over Xiao Ran, Qiao Hongkai, and even Lin Yi. Only then could he regain control of the situation. No matter how disrespectful Lin Yi and the others were to him, they were still rookies of Blue Cloud Pavilion who were heavily protected. If he didn't want to take the risk and rely on outsiders, the only way to deal with them was to support an even stronger rookie from Blue Cloud Pavilion to crush them. And this person could only be Meng Tong. Other newcomers, such as Li Zhengming. After all, he was only at Heaven's stage, Great Circle. Wanting to support him to a height that could crush Lin Yi and his group was obviously unrealistic. Furthermore, his loyalty was not as reliable as Meng Tong's. However, Meng Tong had just advanced to foundation building early stage not long ago, and he relied on the foundation building pill and foundation building liquid to successfully build his foundation. Wanting to raise him to another level in a short period of time, this difficulty could be imagined. Normal methods were definitely out of the question. The only way was to use medicinal pills, and it couldn't be ordinary medicinal pills that could assist in cultivation. Moreover, it had to be rare medicinal pills that could forcefully increase one's level, and it had to be the kind of medicinal pills that could be used to forcibly increase one's level. Other medicinal pills, like the foundation breaking pill, that were sought after by foundation building experts, were useless. Unfortunately, if Meng Jueguang had this kind of medicinal pill in his hands, he would have long given it to himself. How could he have kept it until today? However, even if Meng Jueguang didn't have it in his hands, it didn't mean that he definitely couldn't get it. Don't forget that behind him stood Su Lingchong, a great backer. With young Master Su's unfathomable background and influence, if he really had the heart to get this type of medicinal pill, it shouldn't be difficult. After all, raising Meng Tong's strength was to deal with Lin Yi. Moreover, although young Master Su didn't put Meng Tong in his eyes, he was still considered a subordinate of his subordinate. But no matter what, he was still his subordinate's subordinate. Finding a way to raise Meng Tong's strength was killing 2 birds with 1 stone for young Master Su. After secretly making up his mind, Meng Jueguang's heart felt a little more at ease. However, the gaze he looked at Lin Yi and the others with was unconsciously more gloomy and vicious than before. I'll let you be arrogant for now, and wait until I've convinced young Master Su. Then I'll deal with you. Feeling Meng Jueguang's cold gaze, Lin Yi frowned slightly and said, "Could it be that Meng Jueguang is up to something again?" As senior brother Ku Chong had already escorted Qiao Hongkai back to the cave dwelling to recuperate, Lin Yi now only had Xiao Ran by his side. After all, with the powerful strength that Qiao Hongkai had displayed now, and with Xiao Ran behind him to protect him, newcomers like Cha Wu wouldn't dare to provoke him. Therefore, even if he hadn't been challenged in this round, he could be sure that no one would come to challenge him. So, he simply returned to the cave dwelling to recuperate. Of course, if Meng Tong recovered in a short period of time, there was a possibility that he would directly launch a battle of revenge against Qiao Hongkai. Unfortunately, this was unrealistic. With his current injuries, even if he consumed a level 4 recover pill, it would still take him a day to fully recover. Hearing Lin Yi's suspicions, Xiao Ren couldn't help but laugh. "Boss, you're thinking too much." In this situation, we have 3 early-stage foundation establishment experts, and he only has 1 subordinate, Meng Tong. This gap is too big, no matter how he plans. It's already useless. This was the truth. With Meng Jueguang's strength, he could deal with Lin Yi and the others, but he couldn't do it himself. Moreover, he only had one powerful chess piece, Meng Tong. Using him to deal with Lin Yi and the others was simply unrealistic. After all, even the cleverest housewife can't cook without rice. Let's hope this guy will know his place. Linny nodded. If Meng Jueguang could recognize the reality and give up, then there wouldn't be so many troubles, and it would be convenient for him to focus on improving his strength in the future. Pausing, Lin Yi changed the topic and asked, "What's your plan? This round, are you going to be a bystander, or are you going to directly challenge for points?" Previously, Xiao Ran had maintained the status of bringing up the rear, purposely controlling the ranking of the cave behind Meng Tong in order to ensure double insurance. This way, even if Qiao Hongkai couldn't deal with Meng Tong, he could still take advantage of the situation to make up for it. At the same time, he could protect Qiao Hongkai, who was ranked at the top of the cave, and at the same time, he could effectively restrict Meng Tong. However, after 2 rounds of losses on both sides, it had proven that Qiao Hongkai had the ability and confidence to fight against Meng Tong. Therefore, Xiao Ran's double insurance was unnecessary and unnecessary. Instead of wasting time with Meng Tong, it was better to directly challenge for points. This way, it would be more reliable. However, Xiao Ran answered with a smile, "I will wait for another round. If I don't step on Meng Tong and let him go so easily, I will feel sorry for myself and Hongkai." Based on the current ranking, Meng Tong's abode was the 13th abode at the foot of the mountain, while Xiao Ran's abode was the 14th abode at the foot of the mountain. Both of them happened to be right behind Meng Tong, and with the fact that they were enemies, even a kind person like Xiao Ran wouldn't let go of such an opportunity. Chapter 3800. Honest people also had a temper, now that the tables had turned. How could Xiao Ran let Meng Tong go so easily? Therefore, even if he had to wait one more round, he wouldn't hesitate. Linny heard this and laughed. "That's good too. I also want to see if our senior Meng can get another 4th realm Great Recover pill for Meng Tong. When that happens, Xiao Ran, you can go and cripple him. That scene will be very interesting." With Li Zhengming, the inside man, the fact that Meng Tong consumed a 4th realm Great Recover pill couldn't be hidden from Lin Yi's eyes and ears. During the resistance assessment, Meng Tong had already used a 4th realm Great Recover pill. This time, to attack Qiao Hongkai, he used another one. If he used another one and it didn't have the same effect, then Meng Jueguang would probably cry. After all, a 4th realm Great Recover pill was a very rare, life-saving pill. It was all spiritual jades. With Meng Jueguang's own foundation, being able to get one was already his limit. The previous one was sponsored by young master Su Lingchong. 2 of them smashed onto Meng Tong's body consecutively, and they didn't have any effect. This itself already made Meng Jueguang want to cry. If he used another one and it didn't have any effect, then he would probably die from anger. 3 4th realm Great Recover pills. Many cultivators have never seen so many healing pills in their entire lives. Of course, it was still unknown whether Meng Jueguang could get a 3rd one for Meng Tong. With the previous 2 examples, the possibility was really not high. After the highlight of the fight between Qiao Hongkai and Meng Tong, the challenge returned to normal. The next development was slightly different from the previous round. It was finally the turn of another top 5 newcomers of Blue Cloud Pavilion, Li Zhengming. After 3 rounds of waiting, he finally got the chance to be challenged. Li Zhengming couldn't help but sigh. However, what really made him sigh wasn't because his ranking in the cave was too high. He didn't have the chance to fight and couldn't take the initiative to get challenge points from other newcomers. Instead, it was because he had to watch Xiao Ran and Qiao Hongkai succeed in breaking through to the Foundation establishment realm. Looking at the so-called top 5 of Blue Cloud Pavilion, the other 4 had all succeeded in breaking through to the Foundation establishment realm. And Lin Yi was already a hidden peak early-stage Foundation establishment realm expert. Li Zhengming was the only one left. He was still struggling at heaven stage great perfection, far from breaking through to the Foundation establishment realm. This awkward situation was really painful, looking at the methods the other 4 used to break through to the Foundation establishment realm. Lin Yi didn't need to be mentioned. Meng Tong took a Foundation establishment pill and a Foundation establishment liquid. Xiao Ran and Qiao Hongkai each took a Foundation establishment pill. However, Li Zhengming didn't even get the most basic Foundation establishment pill. Otherwise, as long as he could get a Foundation establishment pill, with his talent, Li Zhengming would have enough confidence to break through to the Foundation establishment realm. He had enough confidence to succeed in breaking through to the Foundation establishment realm like Xiao Ran and Qiao Hongkai. Unfortunately, he didn't have anything. At the end of the day, the biggest problem was that he latched onto the wrong thigh, Meng Jueguang. Although he'd switched sides in the middle, secretly becoming a spy under Lin Yi's command, he still had to pay the price for his mistake. At first, he thought that by joining Meng Jueguang, the eldest senior brother in charge, he would have the opportunity to fight for more cultivation resources. Even if he couldn't eat a lot of meat, he should at least be able to drink a few mouthfuls of meat soup. Now that he thought about it, Li Zhengming was really blind. From the beginning to the end, not only did he not get any decent benefits, he was also repeatedly bullied by Meng Tong, that bastard. If his eyes were a little brighter back then, and joined Lin Yi, he might have already succeeded in breaking through to the Foundation establishment realm. Unfortunately, there were no ifs in this world. He could only taste the bitter fruit he sowed. Even if it was blood and tears, right now, Li Zhengming could only silently endure it. He believed that as long as he played a good role as Lin Yi's spy, in the future, Lin Yi, the boss, would definitely not treat him badly. But then again, although Li Zhengming had not succeeded in breaking through to the Foundation establishment realm and was overshadowed by the other top 5, with his strength, he still had enough of an advantage against the other newcomers of Blue Cloud Pavilion. The newcomer who challenged him was now in the 3rd cave at the foot of the mountain. In the previous rounds, he had won 2 battles and fought his way up from the 5th cave at the foot of the mountain. It should be said that his strength was quite good. However, in this battle against Li Zhengming, the gap was immediately reflected. From the beginning to the end, he was suppressed in every way. After a short period of 3 lights, he was blasted out of the ring. This battle was lost by Li Zhengming's hands. It could be said that it was a clean loss, and he was sincerely convinced. Seeing Li Zhengming's performance, the eyes of Lin Yi, who was watching the battle below the ring, suddenly lit up. He couldn't help but secretly think that it was time to find an opportunity to help Li Zhengming get some benefits. Speaking of which, although Li Zhengming had not been under his command for a long time, during this time as a spy, he was absolutely diligent and had secretly provided a lot of valuable information. Even if Lin Yi had planted Zhong Pingliang as a spy long ago, Zhong Pingliang was still in the Soaring Pavilion after all. At most, he could keep an eye on Kong Mingming, but he couldn't keep an eye on Meng Jueguang all the time. And right now, for Lin Yi, the biggest and most direct enemy was Meng Jueguang. During this period of time, Lin Yi was able to repeatedly see through Meng Jueguang's schemes in advance, and then deal with them calmly, causing the opponent to go for wool and come home shorn. In this, Li Zhengming could be said to be the greatest credit. Kindness must be rewarded, and mistakes must be punished. Combining kindness and power was the best way to control subordinates. So, it was necessary for Lin Yi to help Li Zhengming get some benefits. Otherwise, if this dragged on, this little brother of his would not be able to taste the sweetness. Who knew when he would become disloyal? And that would be a great loss. In Lin Yi's eyes, Li Zhengming's development potential was far above Qiao Hongcai's and even exceeded Xiao Ran's. Once he was cultivated well, he would definitely be a seedling that could take charge of an area in the future. For such a talent, as long as he could guarantee his loyalty, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't let him go to waste. At the end of the day, in the world of cultivation, the strong were always respected. The strong here did not just refer to strength, but more importantly, influence. No matter how strong one was, he couldn't achieve anything by himself. Only when his subordinates became strong together could he have a foothold in this cruel competition on Heavenly Island. Only then could he have enough right to speak and pave the way for what he wanted to do in the future. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.